Mayor Brandon Johnson's recent remarks have all of a sudden got the city in legal hot water, and President Trump's Justice Department alleging racial discrimination in city hiring practice. Now, the mayor made the comments as part of a discussion with Pastor Byron Brazier at the Apostolic Church of God in Woodlawn. It was part of a broader discussion centered around what his administration was doing to build up the fortunes of black Chicago residents whose average incomes are vastly smaller than white Chicagoans. Johnson said part of it was hiring more people of color in his office.
Business and Economic Neighborhood Development, the deputy mayor is a black woman. The Department of Planning and Development is a black woman. Infrastructure, the deputy mayor is a black woman. Chief Operations Officer is a black man. Budget director is a black woman. Senior advisor is a black man. And I'm laying that out because when you ask how do we ensure that our people get a chance to grow their business, having people in my administration that will look out for the interest of everyone, and everyone means you have to look out for the interest of black folks.
Now, the investigation announced this afternoon from the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice started with a letter addressed to the mayor. Assistant Attorney General wrote in part, quote, "Considering these remarks, I have authorized an investigation to determine whether the city of Chicago is engaged in a pattern or practice of discrimination." The letter continues to read, "If these kinds of hiring decisions are being made for top-level positions in your administration, then it begs the question whether such decisions are also being made for lower-level positions." Now, the lawsuit cites Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 that prohibits hiring discrimination on the basis of race. Now, that title and the entire act was written with the discrimination of African Americans and other populations of color in mind back in 1964, but the Trump administration has made it clear with attacks on DE&I programs and now this lawsuit, he feels the shoe is on the other foot. Now, the lawsuit leaves out some of Mayor Johnson's other comments, namely that 34% of his administration is black, 23% Hispanic, and 30% white, which reflects the racial makeup of a city that is approximately one-third black, white, and Latino. And if the DOJ is so interested in discrimination based on race, why doesn't it mention the racial wealth gap in this country? According to a report from the Brookings Institution, it's growing, and the average white family has more than $240,000 more wealth than the average black family. Now, for every $15 of wealth for the median black family, white families have $100. Now, let's stipulate, hiring solely on the basis of race is against the law. How does the DOJ prove, however, that the candidates Mayor Johnson hired were somehow less qualified than white candidates? The bottom line, another lawsuit against Chicago is certainly like shark chum to Trump's base and surely liable to garner lots of ratings in some of the conservative media outlets. But how does it move the country toward color blindness or racial reconciliation? Mayor Johnson's comments are divisive and polarizing. And now Trump's Justice Department will do nothing but ensure more divisiveness and more polarization. Where we go behind the headlines and beyond the spin for some more perspective on this civil rights investigation announced against the city of Chicago. We're joined by IIT Kent College of Law Professor Harold Krent. Professor Krent, always good to see you. Is it unusual to have such swift action from the DOJ 24 hours after comments were made that the administration is now basing this investigation on?
It's incredibly unusual, and that's one clue that this is mostly show as opposed to a legitimate civil rights investigation. Obviously, the mayor was touting the fact that he has a diverse workforce and heads of his departments. But diversity by itself is not a violation, thank God, of the civil rights statutes. And so the Department of Justice to win would ultimately have to determine that there was a pattern and practice of illegal discrimination in terms of hiring for positions within the city. I don't think they have close to that information now. If they get it, that's a different situation.
Well, and this is a pattern and practice investigation, so it's not a traditional lawsuit. They're not necessarily taking the city to court. So what does this entail, and what would be the outcome of it?
Well, right now, as you said, it's an internal investigation. So there will be people asked for hiring records, asked for notes that were taken during the interviews, and they'll make an assessment based upon that information. But again, just the fact that there is a diversity in no way suggests that there's a pattern or practice of discrimination under Title VII, which is in the Civil Rights Act enacted in 1964. So we have a long way to go. My hunch is this is just sort of, atmospherics, but we'll see.
All right, Harold Krent, IIT, Kent College of Law. Always great to get your perspective. Thanks very much.
Good to see you, Paris.
Just 24 hours after Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson proudly proclaimed the number of black city officials that he has hired, U.S. Justice Department officials announced the city is under investigation for a pattern of practice of discrimination based on race. And the DOJ cited Mayor Johnson's comments yesterday at a Southside church. Our investigative reporter Chuck Gowdy looking into this. He joins us now with details on the Justice Department's case, what's behind it, and what it all means. Chuck?
Allison, Mayor Brandon Johnson referring to, quote, our people, unquote, while listing out a number of black city officials that he and his administration have hired and placed in top government positions. The swift response from Trump justice officials putting Mayor Johnson on notice that Chicago is now the subject of a federal investigation for allegedly violating U.S. civil rights laws that prohibit discrimination on the basis of race.
Business and Economic Neighborhood Development, the deputy mayor, is a black woman. Department of Planning and Development, it's a black woman. Infrastructure, deputy mayor, is a black woman. Chief Operations Officer is a black man. Budget director is a black woman. Senior advisor is a black man.
In this appearance at the Apostolic Church of God in Woodlawn, Mayor Johnson ticked off a list of top black city officials and in the process ticked off top officials here at the Department of Justice in Washington, D.C., specifically Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights Harmeet Dillon, who sent Mayor Johnson this two-page letter announcing an investigation of the employment practices of the city of Chicago. When the Attorney General has reasonable cause to believe that a state or local government employer is engaged in a pattern or practice of discrimination, the DOJ letter states, it is the Attorney General's responsibility to take appropriate action to eliminate that violation.
If you ain't with us, you just gotta go.
Mayor Johnson has sung this chorus before, here in February, warning of a coming house cleaning for the disloyal. Now, in this letter, Justice Department officials tell Johnson, you have made hiring decisions solely on the basis of race. The DOJ onslaught comes as President Trump wages a wider war against systemic diversity, equity, and inclusion across the country. Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon, who authored the DOJ warning, is a former Trump campaign legal advisor and ex-Republican Party official. Tonight, her letter is the latest shot in the administration's anti-DEI offensive, and the newest target, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, is now being laid out around the world. Here in this afternoon's Times of India newspaper, Johnson in an unflattering headline, could he be more racist? In a statement late this afternoon, Mayor Johnson offering a colorful pie chart that he says illustrates the most diverse administration in the history of our city, reflecting, he says, the diversity and values of Chicago. And then he adds that the Trump administration doesn't reflect such diversity. Next, city attorneys will review the accusations and respond with a possible meeting between the mayor's office and DOJ. Justice officials tonight say they are concerned that if top-level Chicago positions are being filled based on race, then lower-level jobs may be as well. Typically, these pattern and practice civil rights investigations take 12 to 18 months and often end in consent decrees. These are not criminal investigations, but sometimes lead to criminal referrals. A lot to keep an eye on, Stefan.
Absolutely. Chuck Gowdy with us tonight. Thank you so much.
Between the White House and Chicago City Hall. Thanks for joining us. I'm Scott Schneider.
I'm Dawn Hasbrook. New pushback from Mayor Brandon Johnson as the feds dig into hiring practices. And tonight we are learning more about what the Justice Department plans to do next.
Terrence Lee joins us with the new details and new reaction.
The DOJ jumped on this quick. They sent the mayor a letter today. They're looking into whether he has been hiring people based on race. They point to this moment yesterday at a church in Woodlawn.
The deputy mayor is a black woman. The Department of Planning and Development is a black woman. Infrastructure, deputy mayor is a black woman. Chief Operations Officer is a black man. Budget director is a black woman. Senior advisor is a black man. And I'm laying that out because when you ask how do we ensure that our people get a chance to grow their business, having people in my administration that will look out for the interest of everyone, and everyone means you have to look out for the interest of black folks.
They say if that is how he is making top picks, they want to see if the same thing is happening with lower level jobs too. The mayor's team pushed back, saying his administration looks like Chicago, and they share the breakdown: 34% black, 30% white, and 23% Hispanic. One of his most vocal critics weighed in this afternoon.
Literally just gave Donald Trump yet another political gift here to use against the city of Chicago with regards to his remarks. There's a way to show that we are supportive and inclusive in our hiring, in our opportunity, in our access throughout the city of Chicago. But now the mayor has made it possible for Donald Trump to zero in on us once again, to kick us once again.
City lawyers plan to go through that letter. Feds say they'll start pulling records and talking to staff. If they find discrimination, the city could face legal action or lose federal money.
Chicago City Hall facing an investigation tonight by the Trump administration. They say they're looking at the city's hiring practices.
And whether there's been race-based discrimination. The mayor and other city leaders are responding now. And WGN's Angelica Sanchez live from City Hall tonight with more. Angelica.
Good evening. Well, the mayor is defending his administration tonight by releasing diversity data from his office. Others tonight are saying this entire investigation could have been avoided. Tonight, Mayor Brandon Johnson is defending his administration after remarks on diversity under his watch compared to his predecessors set off an investigation by the Department of Justice.
The deputy mayor is a black woman. Department of Planning and Development is a black woman. Infrastructure deputy mayor is a black woman. Chief Operations Officer is a black man.
The mayor made the remarks Sunday at a church in Woodlawn on the city's south side. His words quickly catching fire online, getting the attention of conservative commentators, media, and the White House. On Monday, the DOJ announced it will investigate whether his administration violated Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
I think that he's definitely opened us up to some interpretations of the law.
Alderman Ray Lopez of the 15th Ward says this investigation could have been avoided.
The mayor literally just gave Donald Trump yet another political gift here to use against the city of Chicago with regards to his remarks.
The mayor is releasing 2025 data showing the breakdown of employee race and ethnicities inside his office, showing 34% of employees are black, 30% are white, and 24% are Hispanic, while 7% are Asian and 5% are two or more ethnicities. In a statement, his office says, Mayor Johnson is proud to have the most diverse administration in the history of our city. Our administration reflects the diversity and values of Chicago. Unfortunately, the current federal administration does not reflect either. Now, the Justice Department says that it has not reached any conclusions, but is interested in learning more about the city's hiring decisions. Live outside City Hall, Angelica Sanchez.